Good morning and welcome to Mrs. Bell's Sweet Treats and More. Today is Monday and this is Monday Moments. Today, as promised, we are going to start cooking. And one of my favorite, simplest recipes is roasted vegetables. Now, there are many combinations that others use. I particularly like the yellow squash, the green zucchini, and I like the red peppers. There are also orange peppers. I use the sweet peppers, and I also use the larger peppers. I don't just stick with, but whatever you can find in the store, feel free to buy that, and you can bring that to the table. So we're going to start. I have the yellow and the green squash, or the zucchini, and I have my peppers, and I have my onion. So the first thing I do is I cut my peppers, and I use the knife that I'm familiar with. A lot of people use the butcher knife, the longer knife. I not use that. I've always used smaller knives. So I just cut straight down the middle after washing my vegetables. When I come home from the store, I put my vegetables into the bowl of water with a teaspoon of baking soda, and I let them soak for a few minutes, and then I rinse them off really well, and then I pat them dry. That's to get rid of, we can't get rid of everything that's on the vegetable, but we can eliminate some of it. And when I come back from the store, I always wash my hands before I start. So I cut it down the middle, and I just get rid of that top where the seeds are. And sometimes there's this little string down the middle. So I just cut down that and take that out, because it can tend to be a little bitter or chewy. And we don't want that in our vegetables because we're making roasted vegetables. So once I cut that out, I take a few vegetables and work that way. So I'm going to do another one, just cut it down the middle, and I cut it down the long way, pull it out, and then I get rid of those seeds. And again, if there's string, and you recognize it really easy, that's middle piece there, you just cut it out. And I've been doing this recipe for a long time. My daughters, I think in the beginning, because it was all vegetables, sometimes if you're not used to eating roasted vegetables, it may sound kind of boring. Some people use turnips, root vegetables. I prefer these, but certainly any vegetable you can find is fine. So I'm just going to take a couple of these, and then I'm just slicing them the long way. So you can see, and then I just cut them very narrow, because I want narrow strips. And so I go through the others. You can cut them as narrow or as thick as you like. I'm going to cut some thicker ones so you can see the difference. You don't have to stick with the size that I have. You can certainly make them larger, thicker, thinner, however you want to do. Once the vegetables get into the oven and the heat hits it, the sweet natural juices from that vegetable will come out. We did a survey a few weeks ago. These are going to be larger. And most people liked fruit. And I'd like to, I love fruit. There are so many different kinds of fruit. My new favorite is white peaches and white nectarines. Yum. So I just put those into a bowl. Again, you saw that I cut some small and some large. Taking the yellow, and when I get the larger ones, I can cut around them I do it the same way. I just cut it in strips. And then I just put that all together. When I do my zucchini, look for a beautiful yellow, as little bruising as possible. You don't want it soft, you want it really firm. And what I do is I cut off the top and I cut off the butt. You can certainly cook the bottom, it's fine. Then I cut them in thin as well as thick. Now I'm going to cut up just a few thin to go with my thin sliced peppers. And they're about 1/4 of an inch. And you just cut down. Probably more of 1/8 of an inch. And then I just toss them in there with my peppers. Then if you want to do the thicker, I just cut right down to make them into chunks. And then I just cut them. About 1/2 an inch. The vegetables are very beautiful this time of year because it is fall. You don't have to stick with the ones I have. Again, you can use as much of the others as you like. And I just put them all in the bowl. And then I go with my zucchini, the green zucchini. It's a beautiful piece. I cut the butt, cut the top, and I cut them about the same as the yellow squash. And then I toss them in the bowl. Now I want to tell you that, well, let me finish this. And then you set it up, and if you want to cut through to make it like the chunks of your yellow squash, you can do the same, or down the middle. You make them larger to match what you already have. Now I'm going to separate some of these because the thinner ones are going to cook faster, so we don't want to burn those up, but I just wanted to show you how I'm cutting those up. Now we also have onion, and I'm just going to tell you what I use. I like to use the red onion or purple onion. It is sweet. The flavor is good. The only thing I want to tell you, the purple onions don't burn your eyes like the yellow onions can. And I'll tell you about the yellow onion in a minute. So I use the purple. It gives such a beautiful color to the vegetable. The only thing is that once the purple is roasted and it is stored, it turns gray. So however beautiful it looks while you're cooking, it's going to turn gray, and that for some people is not appetizing. It doesn't bother me because I know it's a purple onion because it's been combined, but I just wanted to tell you. But I cut the onion in half and I remove the outside. And then I just hold it on an angle. I don't know if you can see me do this. But I hold it on an angle, and then I hold it and holding my fingers back, and I just cut real thin strips. Now, I know that there are other ways people can tell me. Please feel free to tell me. But this is what I do. And I cut them as thin as I can, making sure to pay attention to my fingers because those are valuable to me. And I just keep cutting, and then I turn it, and I cut that side. And so I get these beautiful strips of purple, and you'll see in a couple minutes what these look like. Now, I mentioned the yellow onion. For many years, I used the yellow onion. People said to dunk it in ice water and peel it and put it in ice water, and it won't be so much tearing. I was not successful with any of that until I found someone had told me about this method, but I hadn't tried it until much later. And what my friend did was to cut that core out of that middle core where it goes all the way through. It's the flat end. It's one end that's got the stem on it, and then there's the other end that's kind of flat, look like matted hairs. You cut around that like a circle, and you pull that core all the way out. And when you do that, and I'm sorry I had already done this one, but when you do that, you take that out. That's where the tears come from. That's where the irritation comes from. So you remove that from the onion, and you don't have that tearing. Okay, I mix together olive oil, salt, pepper, just a tiny bit, just a sprinkle. And I use Italian seasoning. I use this particular brand, but it can be any one, Italian. And a little sprinkle of garlic powder, not garlic salt. Because we're just watching the salt. I don't have a salt problem, but I noticed that there's a lot of salt in our food. And then I take this and I just pour it, a couple tablespoons of olive oil, 2 to 3, and then a half a teaspoon of the Italian seasoning, a sprinkle of the garlic, and then I did use a little bit of black pepper. And then I use my finger. I know that people don't do that, but hey, whatever. So then I pour it over, make sure it's all out. And of course my hands are clean. And I just make sure that everything is coated with that. I'm going to show you what it looks like in a moment. But it's a beautiful display. And the vegetables come out sweet, not sugary sweet, but the natural sugars come out of them. And as I told you before, when I used to come home from the store, the girls used to cut up the vegetables for me. Not this way, they would cut up this regular cut. All right, now I want to show you what it looks like. And then I take just a regular parchment paper on a cookie sheet, and I just lay the vegetables out, and you'll see how beautiful they look. And I do it in batches because I want the vegetables to all cook. I don't want them on top of each other, but I want you to see how beautiful that looks. All right, and so I just put it in a 400-degree oven for about 15 minutes. And every oven is different. You might have an electric oven. It may cook quicker or slower, or gas. You modulate your oven. So I pop it in the oven. And I leave it in there. Hi, it's been about 15 minutes, so we're going to take out our vegetables to see how they look. It smells so good in the kitchen. So here are the vegetables that we roasted. We have our peppers. This is hot. We have our zucchini. You see the squash, you see the bigger and the smaller pieces, the thin pieces. Oh, this looks delicious. So I'm just going to put it on a plate. And you can do this however you want. This is hot, so don't want any accidents. And I'm going to plate them for you because it's kind of hot. And you notice that there are big pieces and there are small pieces, but they cooked about the same. Some people like them a little softer, and some people like them a little firmer. You just adjust the temperature to what you would like and get them as dark or as light. You'll notice that the purple, as I mentioned, starts to turn a little gray. It doesn't minimize the flavor. You can use this for soup. You can put it in with some chicken stock. Add this with other herbs, fresh herbs, parsley, or whatever you want to add. Cook some potatoes in it. Throw some leftover chicken. Put some garlic powder. You can add this to it. A little bit of butter. Thicken as you will. Or you can eat this just as a side dish. I enjoy it myself. Sometimes when I cook it a little softer, I use it as with my salad, or I put it in my potatoes or in my rice. So I hope you enjoy this. I certainly enjoy mine. My children have grown to enjoy it because there was a time when they did not eat vegetables so freely. But I just want to show you how I'm going to take that and an onion. The natural sugar comes out of the vegetable. It is delicious. I hope you enjoy roasted vegetables and tell me how you like them. And I'll see you next time. Together we can do this. Enjoy your week. We'll be cooking again next week. Bye-bye.